I'm Julian Clayton with Field Lens. This is Todd Wynne with Roger O'Brien, and we're going to kind of pick up a little bit from where Case left off with the technology and talk more about the technology as it relates to the field. So, the AEC industry is typically more A and E than C, and we kind of have the opinion that the C is not silent. So when it comes to technology in the field, our opinion is that not only all the things that Case and these guys are doing are great, but what we feel is the key to it is to make that technology useful for the field, make it efficient for the field, make the guys who are actually swinging the hammers and carrying the pipe, make their days easier, and then the data that you get from that is a lot more beneficial to the owners, to the architects, and to the engineers. Instead of designing the new technology around the needs of the guys in the office, design it for the guys in the field, and then what you gain from that is so much better. And an example that I'll use is when I first started, I swung my first hammer for a paycheck when I was 12 years old, like 28 years ago. And back then there was not a cell phone on the job site. I'd never even seen a cell phone. And it stayed pretty much like that with the exception of the cell phone until like 2006, when I started seeing, started noticing more technology on the job site. When the iPhone and the iPad came out, one of the first things I noticed was a superintendent on a 50,000 square foot concrete pour in a grocery store. And his office had told him that he will be more efficient if he monitors his pour with the software that was on this iPad. And I won't mention what software it was, but the guy was standing there with his iPad, entering the pour data, or attempting to enter the pour data into this app, and he couldn't do it. And he had his assistant come over, and the two of them could not figure out how to do it. And they're standing there in rubber boots with trucks lined up, standing in the middle of the pour, and he has been told by his office that he will be more efficient if he just uses this app to document his pour. So he stands there for about 30 minutes. He takes the iPad, he tosses it in the spout, watches it get covered up with concrete, pulls out his flip phone, and calls his office and says, "Yeah, I dropped your iPad in the pour. I'm going to continue doing my job. You can send me another one, but I can't guarantee its safety." Then he folds it up, puts it in his pocket, and goes around, and the pour is just fine. So that guy is suffering about it. And rather than me ramble on about all the things that I've seen in the industry, I think let Todd, as a member of the field who's actually doing a lot with technology to help his people be more efficient, let him kind of go through what he does.
Thanks, Julian. He's exactly right. It's amazing how when we try to push out some of these new technologies to the field, we never want to hinder productivity, right? Mm-hmm. Our goal is always to add a new tool that allows them to access data at a quicker pace, or being able to solve an issue with higher quality and speed, of course. But it's interesting. I came from the field as well as Julian, and my passion in life is all about the guy with the wrench in hand. It's about helping him. It's the guy who's between you and your design as an architect or an engineer, of whether that building is going to be beautiful or it's going to be beautiful on the outside and have some defects on the end. It is that guy that stands in between, right? Well, that's the guy that I really like to focus on personally, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, and kind of the path that it's taken the past few years. It's interesting that technology has always been really focused in the AEC industry in the office and in the trailer as well on the job sites. But right now we are going through a revolution in the field. And the reason why is because the hardware is now here. We see tablets and phones, right? So we tried pushing out mobile PCs and computers on wheels, the cow carts that you'd walk around the building. The problem was it wasn't usable, right? And the reason why was because there were specific usability studies put in place for these softwares to be operated with a mouse and a keyboard, right? So we were forcing something. So think about that whenever you're putting a hack together, or think with the user, what is he actually going to be doing? How's he going to be interacting with it? And it wasn't until April 3rd, 2010, we had our first usable gesture-driven device. And I owe it to the iPad. It might be some Android users in the room. I'm actually officially an Android user primarily before iOS, but I still owe it to them that Before this came out, we didn't have that real efficient way to interact with the data in a mobile format on a large screen. So that's why you see iPads on all of our job sites at RO. You'll see them at many other GCs. Are there any other GCs in the room? Skanska. So you guys got iPads in the field?
Sure.
Exactly. And why you'll see primarily iOS in construction is we really follow the developer market, and that's good to know. I mean, there's primarily more construction apps on the iOS store than the Android store. So that's a lot of people ask, why do y'all love Apple? It's not about Apple. It's about the tools that are available, and that's on that store. So what we wanted to do is talk a little bit about some of those tools we're using, some of the apps we're using that we're pushing out in the field, and then also we wanted to give you guys a recap from CES. You asked, why did a contractor go to CES? So did all the companies there. Like, why is a construction company here? And actually, I didn't know this, but CES isn't open to the public. You actually have to be an industry affiliate to get in. So we faked our credentials, didn't we? We got away with it. But the point is, the reason why we wanted to be there is because that revolution that's affecting our guys right now, it's growing even more. You're going to see wearables. You're going to see vests that have safety patches built in that can measure whether the worker is getting dehydrated, or if he's having a cardiac arrest, or if he has suffered a fall. So we see really large safety opportunities. You're going to have wearable cameras for reality capture while you're walking the entire building. Being able to go into a room before we two-side all the walls, be able to take a 360-degree panoramic view, and now the owner has x-ray vision for the life of the building, right? So we can show you a little bit of that too on how we're using that in the field, a little bit how we're using Field Lens, but we also want to do a CES recap. This is really informal, so I want you guys to ask questions, discuss anything you're interested in specifically that you see, open it up, okay? All right, cool. So one thing I can show you, something that was so powerful, and it doesn't matter what system you use, there's so many DMS systems out there. But what I wanted to start with, I'm just going to show you in GoodReader. This changed everything, right? Just having all of the documents fully dynamic in the palm of the user's hand. At Rogers O'Brien, we also use color now as an information resource. It's amazing how we never could use color before, right? Because it costs too much to print, right? So we're breaking paradigms as well in the industry. We no longer have to live by the rules of paper, right? So some of the things I just wanted to point out and hopefully stimulate your imagination on other paradigms that you could possibly break. So colors, the green that you see, that's telling the user immediately when he opens the set, oh, I can navigate to somewhere else on my set. That's going to be an elevation, a detail. You guys have seen this. And the point is, it's no longer hard. There's many different programs out there that'll link your set automatically for you. We use Bluebeam. We love their batch link. We can link an entire set of architectural in under 3 minutes. If anyone wants to call me out on it, I got a video to prove it. We recorded one. But the beauty of it is our supers, now this is, once again, we're breaking paradigms, right? You have a guy that's been in the field and he's built buildings for 30 years with a full-size plan. It's not a light switch to take him down to a window that's 9 inches across, right? So the thing that I really want you to think though is this isn't the replacement. This is just the added tool to the tool belt. The beauty is whenever you see a superintendent using his full-size plan, because that's what he's used to, and then he looks at a specific area of the drawing and he says, let me see if there's an RFI or something modifying this area. And he pulls out his iPad and he checks and he says, no, we're good. Because he knows that what he's synced to is the one truth of the project, right? So that right there is what I call bridging them in. And that's what we have to be thinking about whenever we're pushing new technologies to the field for guys that have done it one way for so many years. It might click in our mind of saying, well, it just makes sense, do it this way. But someone who's gone out every day and done it one way, you can't expect that to click the same way. So what we've tried to do a really good job is bridge them in to baby steps up to the point. So some of the things, though, that you can start doing, with a dynamic set. Of course, you can have all the elevations linked, any kind of details, but then you can start breaking more paradigms. What information do we normally keep inside the trailer? What information did we always keep in the field? We can now start dynamically connecting everything, right? One really great way to look at the field guys, and I don't know if anyone's ever told it to you this way, but I'm going to take a shot at it. So I think of the guys, the project engineers, the project managers, the superintendents, they are manual data alignment managers. What I mean by that, if you could accept that for a second. So what I mean by that is there are silos of information that we're constantly, and your silos of information in y'all's daily lives that you're having to pull from, right? Email, text message, any kind of other social media. But on a job site, we have these same silos. We have drawings, we have specs, we have submittals, we have RFIs, we have field use documents, we have schedules, and these are all separated silos. So that's going to be one of the greatest things that we're going to see in the next couple of years is an auto alignment of this data. Okay? So right now our guys are manually aligning all of it. If we took a door hinge, for example, and we said, there's a problem with it. Well, as the superintendent, I want to see all of the data presented to me aligned in a fashion that I can immediately interpret with ease and make an informed decision. But that doesn't happen right now in the field. What happens is what I call the Swiss cheese effect. We end up seeing data that's presented through basically the most accessible data that's in front of us. And then due to the schedule of the project and got to get it done, we can't wait, we can't find it, we have to make a decision. And sometimes that decision is not the right one. I really want to come up with an example of maybe do a sentence looking through Swiss cheese, and that sentence means one thing, and you pull it down and you see the full sentence and it means the complete opposite, because that is what happens in the field constantly. So ways that we're able to hopefully help auto-align this data is through digital documents, through hyperlinking information, through taking media and bringing it into the user in a usable fashion. Going into a room, taking a 360-degree panorama before we close up the walls. The owner comes back to us now and says, I want to add a TV on that wall. Well, we can check how far does that blocking extend. We now have the information available to us, whereas normally we'd have to pull off a piece of drywall or we'd have to use some type of stud finder and see what was behind there.
Tell you how much it costs to put up a monitor in a hospital in California? $7,000.
What kind of monitor? I'm talking about
That monitor, put that monitor on the wall in a hospital, costs us $7,000.
I believe it.
why so much money?
Because they have to figure out structurally, because we have a law called OSHPD.
Yeah.
Which requires an agency to approve any change in a hospital. And so, by the time you get all that information, so the company I used to work for, we laser scan every room in the hospital.
Right.
It's incredibly expensive, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper than.
Exactly. So, but it was worth it, right? Probably. I mean, than not having the data. What I just showed you there was a 99-cent app called 360 Panorama. That's the beauty of it. That's the revolution that we're now going to. It's now becoming accessible to all the guys in the field. The guy with the wrench in the hand can now have X-ray vision into the wall as well without using a $40,000 laser scanner. So that's why, really, this is more about stimulating your imaginations, too, on how these new tools, that 360 Panorama, that's a great app for using on vacations, right? Or you're at the stadium and you want to be able to get a great shot. Well, think of now, you go in and let's say that we put one of those on that double robot and it just, before you two-side the walls, it goes into every room and it takes a 360 Panorama and dumps it on the server. And now you have that. Or maybe it does it once a week.
Have you seen Gyroptic?
What is that? Yeah, Gyroptic. Yeah, so Gyroptic, that's going to be on our CES recap. They're amazing. It's a 360 camera, unlike any other 360 camera I've seen. Basically, the way that it captures 360 the entire time, but then the way that you get to interact with it is the way that we're used to interacting with video footage. It's in a screen-like fashion, but then you're able to use your finger to pan around the 360, right? So basically you get to look around wherever you want and have your own experience in that 360, but to be able to...
And it actually does it moving video.
Right, and it's
So
already...
360 video, so as you're going through a space, you can
Yeah.
turn around and look behind you as you're going.
I wanted to get one before coming up here to put it on that robot, because it's already Oculus Rift ready as well. At CES, they had the Rift set up. You could put it on your head, and you're looking around the video. It was interesting. It was the video that I got to experience was just a guy in Italy walking down Venice, and he's walking. You're standing still, but as the video's playing, you're able to look around what was happening. Even when he was looking forward, you're getting to see what was happening behind him. It's unbelievable when you really start thinking about it. Movies are never going to be the same, right? I mean, you're going to watch it one way, Jaime, and I'm going to be looking over here watching another. And then the next time we watch it again, it's never the same. So some really interesting, fun stuff for sure. Another thing, I told y'all some of the toys we brought, but one that's worth mentioning, just to give our guys more informed ways to make decisions. You guys seen this guy, the FLIR 1? This guy's great. This is thermal imaging, just IR. It's something that we've used in construction for 30 years, but we've always had to hire a thermographer. We've always had to hire a guy that has a $30,000 camera, or the cheapest one I knew you could really get that was any quality was about 8 to 10, probably. Julian,
now they're probably $3,000, but now
they're 350 bucks, and it's basically just a case. The newer design, this one was meant for the 5S and 5. The newer design just actually plugs straight into the lightning port, and it's here. I got another one actually. This one's called. Let's see if I got it in here. This one's called the Seek. But a guy can keep this in his vest now, right? He can pull it out, walks into a room, and he wants to see what outlets have been energized. Doesn't have to hook anything up. He can visually see it, giving him a sixth sense, so to speak. But now it just plugs into your lightning cable. So anyone who wants to come play with this later, you can. If you have a difference of 10 degrees on an exterior wall than the room you're in, you can even start looking through the wall. You can check for missing insulation. We've used it. We 3D printed a bracket for our quadricopter, and we did a roof scan after a rain because water holds more heat right after. So you could actually potentially check if you have any kind of potential leakage into your insulation or so on. So I'm sorry, was there something?
That's smart, I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. That's just merging things together, right? That's hacking them together. That's what we're all here for. Is taking one cool product and hacking it to another one. And that's exactly what the point of this is to stimulate that imagination.